But the problem is with the quick fixes. That's the real problem. Everybody wants a pill or the push of a button and then technology with all its advancements is putting a real damper on everybody just doing the actual work, which back in the day, my grandfather used to have a stationary bicycle in his bedroom, and you best believe at 6:30 a.m. every day, first thing he did was get on that bike, and that's how he started his day, in his room, in his bedroom.
Every life has a soundtrack. Join me as we invite guests to share their journey through music, one song at a time. 10 moments, 10 memories. I'm your host, Sean, and welcome to 10 Tracks.
Are you ready?
Welcome to 10 Tracks. My guest today is Samantha Kane. Samantha is the founder of Roots Wings Wellness, a conscious guide and certified holistic life coach who supports others' self-growth mastery, aligning their higher self to reclaim well-being freedom. Hi, Samantha. Welcome to 10 Tracks.
Hey, Sean. Thanks for having me on.
Tell me where you are in the world.
I'm in Los Angeles, California. Good old USA. And yeah, it's a lovely morning here.
It's in sunny California, so I can imagine it's
Sunny
a
now,
special
yeah.
place.
It is.
So I understand that you are involved in wellness
Yes.
and you have had quite a journey to get to there in your own personal.
Yeah, yes. I mean, fair to say, haven't we all?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I've been through a lot of different careers. So I did not just begin in life coaching. I've had tens and tens of jobs. I mean, I counted once. It's been over 30. Um, I was a teacher. I was an elementary school teacher, preschool teacher. I've been in mortgage. I started out in a voiceover radio studio. That was my very first job, which is kind of fun now. I mean, I feel like I should have a mic too. I just haven't gotten one yet. Um, but kind of full circle here, coming back to speaking, in a sense, although that was scripted and this is not. Um, but I eventually moved into life coaching because everything had its time. And the way I do things is exactly that. It's like I evolve myself through my work, whatever it's been, and then and I allow the space for it. And then at some point, it's just no more. It doesn't fit me anymore. And so I move on. And even though I highly respect people that have been in their jobs for 20, 30, 40 years, which I think is amazing to have longevity like that. And I really do respect that. That was never my path yet. Now I've been life coaching for a decade, and it's now that I have some retrospect in it, it's such an interesting place to be, to get to incorporate all the experience from all the jobs prior, working in a nonprofit for veterans support, um, psychic bookshop, a flower shop, telemarketing, the restaurant industry, like I said, mortgage, teaching. It goes on and on. I've done I worked with in mergers and acquisitions in the corporate world for a couple decades. I was in corporate in various jobs. And although I could do it, it never felt like it was me. It never felt
Fulfilling.
like I could fully bring myself to the job. So I learned so much though, because everywhere you go, everywhere you take yourself, you're learning, right?
Yeah.
But the once I connected with life coaching and I even learned that this was a job, oh my gosh, I can I can life coach. This is something I can do. It paired my love of psychology, which was something that I thought I might want to get into, but didn't. It pairs psychology with wellness, with well-being, with a spiritual side, and it's really like a hodgepodge of everything that I learned prior and I'm still learning today. And then I get to bring that to my clients. So it's really a beautiful mix. It's like
Mm.
art, kind of, when you look at it that way. I don't think people really look at their jobs like art unless you're an artist
Yeah.
specifically. But I feel like anybody could look at it that way because it's like a culmination of all your prior experience leading you to where you are now.
Yeah. And I think you also, regardless, I mean, I know there's some jobs that might be super serious, but I think, if you take people's work that are not even, a doctor saving lives or on an operating table, or something, maybe working in a funeral home, I think that you should have a bit of joy in what you're doing every day, because again, it's not. I find it whenever I sometimes would talk to people or work in my industry in healthcare. Sometimes some people you talk to, they're so serious and so, I understand if they're passionate about what they're doing or their product or something, but when they don't have a bit of just life in them, it's kind of scary because you think, how are they when they're not talking about this product or something, even if it's not even their product, they're just an employee of the company. Um, and so I guess, is there like a certain patterns that you find with some of your clients when you're working with them as a life coach that they have to unblock or they need to really to kind of let go of some of this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's what I like to bring to the table. So, part of what I do is I bring my higher self into my conversations with people. And I think that really helps because if I came here today and I was in the doldrums and I was just like an Eeyore and hey, nice to meet you, Sean. All right, let's get through the podcast. You'd be
The
like,
ratings would be off the charts.
oh, they'd be off the charts. But you know, we want to keep things interesting and fun for each other. So if one of us is really down, that means that it's up to the other person to either, well, if they're already down, now you're more down.
Yeah,
Or can I be that person that helps raise someone else's spirit and vibration and frequency and essentially energy, because that's what we all are.
yeah,
So it's really like mood to mood, right? And we're just trying to have some cohesiveness where we can lift each other up. And how do we do that? And we do that through energy first. So if I don't bring my higher self to the table, no one else is going to want to follow suit with anything I have to say. There's going to be no trust there. So I build trust that way through that. But yes, absolutely there are patterns of people in super serious land where they just can't seem to pull themselves out, or if they do, it's just not for very long, and then they just go right back, they get sucked back down into that, pit of darkness. And it's okay because we have to do shadow work and learn about ourselves and go through these experiences, but we also need to know tools and remember them and implement them so that we can integrate lighter footing in our lives. Otherwise, it's just not fun. I mean, like your point, it's just we should be going around more lighthearted. I mean, you see those people that have monotonous jobs that aren't really happy jobs per se, but they are so full of light and so much joy. And you're like, wait, you're like the trash guy. How are you so happy? And they're practically singing zippity doo dah. But, and then there's the other guy that gets to travel, and then he's always angry.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter what you're doing as long as it hopefully aligns with, your soul and your purpose here on earth. But regardless of what it is, it's who you're being and how you're being through that. And that's where I try to help people focus more on the basics, breath work and just being grateful to be here. We don't know how long we have, And so that's why I'm so happy to be here with you today and talk about music because that's such a beautiful gift to, it's like the soundtrack of our lives, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I guess one area when you're working with clients, I would imagine, is I come with a certain expectation that I'm expecting from you, and you have to be like, hang on there, cowboy. This isn't just going to be in 30 seconds and you're Shazam, you're fixed. This is not a quick fix. This is not just something that's, and I think in today's world where there's so many pills that they think can miraculously fix this, fix that, do this. Um, I think, as you mentioned, breath work, this is something we're incorporating into a health event that I'm working on actually next week. And we have somebody coming and in between sessions with our delegates, we will be doing some breath work,
Fantastic.
which is bringing a total, kind of more side to, because if you ever been to a business conference, they tend to be quite sterile. They tend to be quite academic or
Yes.
clinical. When health is what we're doing, it's technology, but also clinical. So it
Mhm.
tends to be there's not a lot of room for uh, openness to kind of what's inside of us. So we're trying to bring that to show it's a little bit, a little radical edge to that.
I
But
love that. You have to break up the monotony.
yeah.
And that's what it is. I'll give you a funny example that just popped in my brain. When I worked in mortgage, I was an executive assistant to a few people, and we had cubicles, and they were all in a row, back to back to back, all the executive assistants to all the top people, right? And so, we're just hours and hours of treacherous work, just hard work, sitting all the time. And then all the women, we were all women executive assistants, everybody would complain and they'd be like, I'm gaining weight. All I do is sit, And so I was like, no, snap out of it. And I almost became like a fitness instructor in a sense, or something like that. I was like, I'm putting on an alarm, and when the alarm goes off, I don't care what anybody's doing or in the middle of an email, whatever, we are all getting up. We're doing a wall sit. So we're standing against the wall, and then, our knees are bent. We're doing a wall sit, and we're doing stretches, and we're doing all these things. And then I had them doing this with me multiple times a day. And it wasn't even so much as for the physical movement as it was that we all thought it was so funny. It
Mhm.
was just hilarious. It broke up the, you know, craziness, the chaos, and
Yeah.
it made us come back to our human side again. Like we're not robots working, trying to meet deadlines and going to meetings and feel all this stress. And we are funny, we're lighthearted, we're women that are just wanting this paycheck and trying to survive the day, but let's not just survive, let's actually get into our health side too. So that was a little funny moment in time. But yeah, that's kind of what we have to do. We have to just pick ourselves up in the best ways we can. We have to implement ways that, we're so structured and so scheduled and we're so rushed. So how can we create space? Even the people that say, I don't have time. I don't have time for wellness. I don't have time
Yeah.
for massage. I don't have time to even go get my hair cut. I don't have time for self-care. Yes, you do. We all do. It's because there are flickers of moments that you can do this thing that takes 2 minutes. You can do this thing that takes 5 minutes. you can reprioritize your life so that we are not running on fumes all the time and we're not in survival mode and we're not in fight or flight all the time because that's a horrible place to live. And then a lot of people are living it chronically, which is the
Yeah.
worst of all.
Yep.
There's ways. There's so many ways. You just got to be willing to put a little emphasis on the lightheartedness and it'll come.
Yes, and I've actually heard those words from my wife saying to me when I said, I don't have time to do that today. And she's like, yes, you do. And it's like, so maybe you had a call with her before on this call, so I don't know. But it's because this festival that I'm organizing next week is a lot of last minute crunch, details and everything like that. And so
Yeah.
again, waking up you can even feel a little bit more anxious. And breath work for me has been a salvation. That's something I'll just do for my even a 5-5-5,
Yeah.
where for 5 times, and that's I can it call it even that, which I'm not saying is revolutionary or anything, but that makes such a difference
It
when
does.
I need to just take a time out, and I can do that. Moving, of course, sitting's the new smoking. I'm aware of that. Uh, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that I think it's so important for us, and I think we are trying to do that through the festival and things like that. But I think it's great to hear you are also with your clients talking to them and bringing this because I think we need more. It's a shame there's not more general knowledge about this through uh, broader channels. I guess maybe it's getting better in the States, but still
It
in other
is.
parts
It's
of the
it's
world, it's
getting there, but at the same time, it's like it's such a strange phenomenon because here we are, we all know what to do, but some of us know how to do it. Some of us just don't want to do it. Some of us are just getting into laziness, but also some of us are just depleted. So it's not actually laziness, but we're calling it that. And
yeah,
then, but the problem is with the quick fixes. That's the real problem. Everybody wants a pill or the push of a button and then technology with all its advancements is putting a real damper on everybody just doing the actual work, which back in the day, my grandfather used to have a stationary bicycle in his bedroom. And you best believe at 6:30 a.m. every day, first thing he did was get on that bike. And that's how he started his day in his
yeah.
room, in his bedroom. And I just remember that and I thought that was so cool. I really respected that he started his day with physical movement. But a lot of people are getting away too far away from where our natural circadian rhythm, because of blue light and going to bed to TV and going to bed with our phone devices in our hands and doing all these things. But again, you come back to knowing better. You should be doing better. You got to pair it. So don't just know, actually do. And that's where I come in, is I help people bridge the gap there because it's just really nonsense. Everything in between is all a distraction.
Yeah.
We should be more intentionally using our phone. Stop at a certain time before we go to bed. The way I think of it is from the moment you open your eyes to the moment you close your eyes, what are you doing in between? Are you doing things with shallow breath or are you deep breathing throughout? One great example, anyone that has dogs or a pet, my dog, when he gets in his position of comfortability and he's laying down, he goes, and I have taken that as my cue to also and take a
Take,
deep breath. And I'm
yeah.
telling you, I do this every day now. It's like I'm following my dog and it's become a ritual. And it's cute and adorable, but it's also like a beautiful thing for me to incorporate deeper breath because all we do all day is we're these walking crazy people that live with shallow breath.
Yeah.
So even moments like that from a pet, from, a snoring spouse, from, whatever, anything that you can lock in and integrate in your brain, like, okay, that's my cue. I'm going to use that for deeper breathing or just a moment of being present and noticing the wind outside howling or just noticing how you feel in your body or just taking a moment to just be right now.
Yeah.
All these things help slowing down and all that. And we can all get all our things done. We can get everything done on the to-do list. But we're not going to get everything done and checked off well in our mind, body, spirit if we don't do them with the right intention and with breath throughout them. Because if you try to squeeze everything too tight and you don't allow breath through them, then you're allowing too much pressure. Pressure equals stress. Stress, we all know what that does, and that goes
Yeah.
on and on and on. So that's really my philosophy is to just find these micro moments and then deduce them down into your day where you plug them in and it's like a plug and play and you almost don't even think about it anymore. And this is how you can move through life with things where it's not pressure, it feels kind of fun, and it's easy.
Let's let's jump into uh your tracks. We're gonna start with the first track here. This is Edie Brickell,
Okay.
10,000 Angels.
Okay.
Tell me about
So
this song.
10,000 Angels. Okay, so if you or any of your listeners are familiar with Edie Brickell, she came out with a hit song, What I Am.
Yeah.
And
Is that around the
that
same time
one,
as this album came out, or is this off the same album, or
no, this was like I don't know if this was her second album. She's
okay.
had quite a few now.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but so this song, I don't even know if it was from the 90s. What I Am was from the 90s. But in case anyone doesn't know 10,000 Angels, they may know What I Am. 10,000 Angels to me um, is such an interesting song because I love the music. Um, Edie Brickell was one of my favorite artists growing up. And from that song, What I Am, I didn't choose What I Am because it became so commercialized and so almost like a household song. At some point, it almost squeezed the magic out of it for me. And I do love so many of her songs, but specifically when 10,000 Angels came out, um, it was sometime in my young adulthood. And I got to see her live when I was pregnant about 8 years ago. And it was such a full circle moment for me because she played that song. And she's a folk artist and most her songs or a bunch of her songs are pretty happy, folky. Her musicians are incredible, by the way.
Hmm.
I don't know if these are the same people that have been with her, but they are phenomenal. You would appreciate them. I mean, they were really, really good. Um, but seeing her live just took me back. And then when she played this song, there's something about this song that's a little bit different and rose above any of her other music because her other music, not to diminish or take away from the depth of her other songs, but this particular song is quite ethereal and
Hmm.
it
Yeah,
brings
yeah.
a different vibe and a different feeling than a lot of her other songs. There's also a darkness to it, even though it's about 10,000 angels. Um, so this was the first and only time I'd ever seen her live. And so when that song came about, it really I just was kind of overjoyed with it because it was such a great moment. It's like watching someone that you've enjoyed listening to over the course of your life and your growing up and maybe your you used to listen to one song forever, over and over and over and over. And then at some point it fades out because you grow up. She's kind of always carried with me. And so when I got the opportunity to see her live, and then I heard this song to me represented her growth.
Yeah.
It was
It's
a very cool moment.
it's almost like she's reading a poem. It's,
Yes.
that's got these words that are very heavy.
Yeah.
And then you've got the music behind it, but she's kind of telling you the story through and where the angels are in there. And so it's definitely the ethereal and I really I wasn't familiar with it because I knew that obviously what I am and a couple of her other songs. So hearing this was really interesting because I didn't remember it. And I think she's been on a couple of collaborations I've heard her with some other artists and stuff, and I like her voice a lot.
Mhm.
But I wasn't that familiar with this song. So when I heard it, I was like, wow, this is kind of different. It
Cool,
didn't,
right?
it's like Edie Brickell, but not Edie Brickell in a way. And
Right.
so
You didn't expect that.
no,
That's the thing.
exactly.
It's like unexpected, but good. It's like a
Yeah,
good
yeah. A
unexpected.
good unexpected for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Which sometimes artists try and they go to from like hip hop to country, and you're like, huh, you should have stayed in hip hop, you know? So,
Yeah, yeah.
but this isn't that. This is still good. And there's like a darkness that's inviting, but not scary. It's just a mood. And I don't know, it just went further away, so much further away and so much more depth and breadth than the What I Am song that isn't a flat song, but again, it was more commercial and just so easy to listen to. This one makes you think a little bit more. So I like
Yeah.
that.
Um, in your personal life, you have a son, right?
A
A
daughter.
daughter.
Yeah.
And I understand that you homeschool her.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't personally, a group of parents, we have a hired teacher
Okay.
at a different location, not at one of our homes. And so our children are homeschooled by this teacher that used to be a public school teacher, but now is teaching our children.
Okay. So the children are together while they're being
Yes.
kind of homeschooled.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
they're in a group.
All in one place. Yeah. All in one place, on the weekdays. And it's incredible. It's a really beautiful, beautiful thing. One of my songs actually that I chose, is this what we're getting into? I don't, well,
Oh,
you wouldn't even know unless you have a crystal
no, I'm
ball
just
or you're a mind reader. But
I didn't
that's
work at the psychic book club.
okay, okay. Well, that's one of the songs is does have to do with my daughter. That's the Running with the Wolves. But I don't want to, if you have a certain
No.
order.
Well, in the order you kind of gave them to me, so that's
Okay.
further along. So yeah, we don't
We'll
want
talk about
to
that.
I don't
Yeah.
want to jump the gun there.
No, no, no.
Um, but let's jump into track two.
Sure.
This is from around 1985, Stevie Wonder, Overjoyed.
Okay. So, Overjoyed. Okay, is this song is a full circle moment that I had. So when I was about 12 or 13, I had my first singing audition for a play
Hmm.
in a theater. And I was very nervous about it. And one of my babysitters, my that was a babysitter for many years, she was so kind and she offered to have me practice singing this song with her. I chose the song. She helped me choose it, I think. And I knew it well, and I could sing it. But when I got into the audition in front of these adults, being 12 or 13 and me not living in this world, all of a sudden I'm spotlight on me. I got very shy and I killed it. Not in the right way. Not killed it. Like, yeah, she killed it. It was like I killed the song.
You strangled it.
But I destroyed it. Um, I didn't do well. And so that memory always stuck with me, of course, like that
Is this the
moment.
song?
This is the song. So I sang Overjoyed, but I did
Oh,
not
wow.
do it well at all. Sorry, Stevie, did not do your
Yeah.
song justice. So then anytime I would listen to this song or it would just come on the radio after, it's like a little tinge of like, oopsie. And then, but where this song became full circle for me was last summer. I was in a countryside on this beautiful trip with my family, just my husband and my daughter. And we were driving along in a truck, and there's this magnificent wildlife and just mountains and wildflowers and just beautiful scenery. And I have my playlist on shuffle, and Overjoyed comes on, and I'm already singing my heart out to all the songs that come on because it's my playlist, so I know all the songs. And then the song comes on, and then I start belting it out. And then as I have the windows down and the wind's blowing and I'm singing this song, and then it hit me, and I was like, wow, now I'm an adult with a husband, with my child and I'm singing this song so freely in this beautiful countryside. This is a full circle moment. And I just started to get teary-eyed, and I was so excited that I kind of healed that inner child
Yeah.
that I was like, you just annihilated this song. And it's so what was so sad at that time was it was only nerves, because if I hadn't had the nerves, I would have been fine. And I
Yeah.
probably would have gotten some part in the play. But I didn't. So anyway, just having this moment that I actually got to heal my inner child and just feel into that and actually let it go and release that memory and that attachment to that song. Now that song looks different to me.
Yeah.
And I just think that's so cool. And that could have been
Absolutely.
any song, right? But it happened to be Overjoyed by Stevie
Yeah.
Wonder.
But it is so great that you were able to release that,
Yeah.
that negative or feeling that you had because of that experience.
Yeah.
That didn't go well for you. And so that song, it's not Stevie's song's fault. It was just something, um,
Yeah.
maybe
Well,
there
to
would have
be
been a different
fair,
song.
it's not like Mariah Carey, but it's not the easiest song to sing. I mean, there's
Yeah.
probably a lot of other songs that would have been easier for my nerves, but anyway, I mean, I can sing it now just fine, and I'm not nervous anymore. Um, but it's really cool to be able to heal something in yourself from your childhood and to even notice, because a lot of people just carry things throughout their lives and they just continue on, and then it's stored inside of them as like luggage with cobwebs deep in the spaces of their mind that they don't let out.
Yeah.
And when you carry a burden with you like that, imagine you have many, many moments like that throughout your life. Now you're carrying like suitcases and baggages and all these things, and you're moving through life like that. It's just how are you supposed to lighten up in life when your subconscious is holding all these things? So to release one of them, hey, I'm game.
I think I still have this sometimes phobia of when I'm in a room with a bunch of people and you have to go around the room and introduce yourself. I have no problem being on like talking to people in a room like when it comes to just like conversation, us doing, one to one or even small groups or casual. But when I know that, okay, we're going around the room and I have to introduce myself, even if it's like 75% of the people I know, it's this whole thing that comes back to probably being in a classroom in school when I was young, and it's now going to be your turn to say your name and to do that. And it's so I don't know. Once I do it, it's fine and I'm over it. But I sometimes still to this day get that sort of a weird kind of. thing. And I do it. And again, I think it's part of not letting these things uh rule you. You have to fight, and I mean once you do it, I'm like, it's no big deal. Nothing.
Yeah.
But
Then you're,
it's
it's done. And
still
you're like,
that
that
sort of
wasn't even
I'm
bad.
sitting there, nervously twitching my fingers while I have to do it or something until then and stuff. But
Sure.
yeah.
I sympathize with that because I still have the same fear. I still have that too. And but at the same token, I once I start talking and I get a few words out, I go, I'm okay. I got this. So, but
Yeah.
there is a fear about speaking. I when I was in a master's program for I got my master's degree for elementary education, and as practice, standing in front of a class, because you're going to be standing in front of a class of students, they made you stand in front of the class of adult students that you are in school for in the master's program. And so, I had the professor in front of me and I'm standing at a podium and all I had was bullet points. I didn't ever write a speech out. I just had my bullet points and then I'd have to speak for quite a while on a topic, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it was like 20 students in this program.
20 were in the room.
Yeah, about 20 and the professor. When I would get off the podium, a girlfriend of mine would always revel in my non-anxious mood. She'd be like, I don't understand. I am so nervous. You don't show any nerves. And how do you not have more written?" She like grabs this out of the note out of my hands. She's like, "How do you just have bullet points? I don't understand." And here was my advice, which is true and just so it's just honest, is when you're speaking on something that you love, it comes naturally. And when you start to focus more on what you're speaking about than how you're speaking about it, the shift in energy changes to just that. It's just about the topic. It's not about you presenting it. And I don't know what she got from that or not, but that's how I roll. That's just what I do. When I speak, I am coming from a truth inside me and if I don't know about it, then I'm going to be more nervous perhaps because then I don't know what I'm saying. But I'm not usually put in rooms where I don't know what I'm saying anyway. Or if
Mm.
I am, I'm quiet and I'm introspective and I'm listening and I'm learning. So that's the difference. And that's where you get to play with your fear.
And you don't have to pretend, even if you don't know, to try to pretend you do know. I think that's even
Or
much better when you like, this is a new subject for me. I'm actually getting in. And I definitely guests who come on and they talk about stuff that I have no real deep understanding and I want to learn. I'm curious for sure,
Mhm.
but I don't pretend to be on the same par or level as them and it's something that they have studied or something that they're very passionate about. I want to be able to share this with listeners, but also to learn about it myself. So I don't want to pretend to be like, yeah, I know that. Um, as
You might
such,
not even know a song that they present. I've never heard of this. I better listen to
there's
it.
so many songs I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there's so many songs. There's too many songs, and there's too many things to know. And that's what I tell my daughter. I've had to tell her often. I've had to say, we don't know everything because I know that. I know everything. No, honey, you don't know everything. That's impossible. No, mommy doesn't know everything. No way anybody could know everything. Well, I know everything. Okay, fine.
Let's jump to track three.
Sure.
This is The Cure,
Okay.
Disintegration. And I do know this song, and I've seen The Cure live a few times, but I actually saw them on this tour in 1989 or 90. I don't know when they toured, but
Oh,
I did hear, and they played this song Disintegration. So it's a great song memory
oh,
for me.
cool. I never got to see them live. This song was The Cure was first introduced to me by my very first boyfriend, and he was really into The Cure. And this song
Was
was
he a
on.
goth?
I'll give you a better picture. He when I met him, he was in black leather pants, a black shirt, some kind of beaded necklace, black boots, wavy hair to here. He thought he was Jim Morrison.
Okay.
That was it. That was him. Um, but at the same time, he liked The Cure and Ministry and Skinny Puppy, if you've heard of any of these.
Yeah, yeah, all of them.
So The Cure was like the soundtrack of my youth. Starting from when I was, I'd say 16, I got to know The Cure, and Disintegration just became one of those songs that Disintegration was on repeat for me. Um, there was something about my, I guess I would say my hormones changing. You know, I was in puberty at 16 years old. As a teenager, you're going through this very like moody time.
Mm,
I guess we can't say that for everyone, but for me personally, my I think I was going through like some self-identity as we do as a teenager, and then having my first boyfriend, you know, kind of navigating that. He was a depressed person. He went through a lot in his younger life. He went through a lot his whole life, it turned out. It actually expanded over the course of his life. But those were the days where not only I was dealing with my own moodiness and no real adult or mentor to really try to help facilitate how to get out of these moods or how to deal with it and how to cope. I just kind of was going through it alone. I had a close relationship with my parents, but these weren't things you discussed in my family, at least. Um, and maybe it just wasn't prevalent of that time. People just didn't really seem to talk about personal things as much as they do like hormones or girls going through puberty or even guys, not a lot of us had these things like people were taught to shave or know what to do in certain circumstances where your body's changing and your mind's changing. So this song is very representative of this time. It was very like gloomy, and I don't think I necessarily took on the depression of my then boyfriend, but I was around it. And so
mhm.
dealing with myself and then dealing with him at the same time, um, we had a lot of fun. There were a lot of laughs and it wasn't all dark, but this was definitely a big part of my youth for sure.
Yeah.
It's a fun time. I mean, I love the music. I still like that song.
Yes. It's because to me, I think there's a lot of camps of people who were into the Cure and bands. I mean, I think Skinny Puppy and Ministry and those were a little bit heavier, but I think the Cure to me were, although they tend to be, that's why I was asking the goth, and I said it a little bit tongue in cheek, but um,
Yeah, I
they
mean,
tend to be
ish.
people in dark clothes and long, and
Yeah.
maybe, the hair teased up and everything. But when for me, it was never that. It was the music and the lyrics and the voice, and I never felt they were too dark.
Right. They have Friday I'm in Love. I mean, that's like poppy,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
And boys
they
don't cry.
and yeah, I mean they weren't dark. It was kind of like fun, uplifting music for some of their songs, but I think the album that we would play on repeat was within the gloomy kind of realm.
Yeah.
And that was just what it was at that time. But I listened to Edie Brickell when I was 16 too, and she was folky and happy so I listened to all kinds of things in my youth. I was listening to the Beatles. I was listening to, Jimi Hendrix. I mean, all kinds of classics. And then I got into like grunge and goth and all those kinds of things too. I liked all of it. I still do.
But I think you brought up a good point, because I do think that maybe. younger people, and I don't know about today so much because I don't have kids, but when I was I would look at my friends and we would try to figure out being a teenager to some extent. I think,
Yeah.
your parents would tell you certain things, don't do this, don't do that. And, I didn't necessarily get a lot of strict rules when I was growing up in New Orleans. Gave us a lot of freedom. I mean, I could go out a lot of times and do things that I wouldn't necessarily, I didn't say I'm doing this, but, I would do stuff. But I think I was able to make up my own mind of not taking it too far because I knew better, even because I had that freedom and flexibility. But I think with some things that you just need to kind of know, like when your body's changing, I think we tended to not talk to our parents about that. We ended up talking to each other and
Yes.
people. So I'm curious as to what people do besides the internet, maybe as their source or to do. But I
Well,
wonder if people are looking at
it's
their
changing.
parents now.
It's changed and it's changing. And this is part of the reason that I'm homeschooling is not to shy my child away from situations that are uncomfortable or anything like that. She's gonna live life. She's gonna see the dark side of things. She already has in some regards. We lost a dog a year ago, and that was like a real buddy of hers, and she loved him. So she's already even circled around death, in
Yeah.
her young age. Um, but now that I know what I know, because the way I grew up, when you're a parent, at least for me, I want to do things differently. The things I didn't receive, I want to give. And so I'm highly intuitive in this area, to be able to speak to my daughter in ways that I know she can handle. You can only give so much wording. Also, when they're little, you can't really say very much because then they just start tuning out. So it's like 2 minutes of compressed, formatted dialogue, and then you got to start talking about something else because they're
Yeah.
like little fairies. They just flutter off into something else real quick. Um, as they get older, the conversations become a little bit longer and a little bit longer. But the point is for us to teach people, and even we can even teach each other, adult to adult, to become that safe space for someone, regardless of age, and allow just like a surrounding container where you feel comfortable to bring me your problem and we can discuss it without judgment. And this is the information I know that you don't. Let me help you and help guide you with this because I'm further along down the trail than you are. And this has been my experience. It might not be exactly like that for you, but this is what it is. And now that you have this wisdom and this information, now you can take it and run and have your own experience. When we don't do this with our kids, with friends, with family, with clients, in a unbiased, non-judgmental, and a safe way, then it's really rough for people. People feel like they're out on an island.
Yeah.
So this lends itself for me into my life coaching, into motherhood, into being a friend, into all these things. I've learned the ways from my upbringing, even from teachers. This isn't like a blame game to my parents. My parents were wonderful. It's just that they didn't have all the tools or know, maybe they weren't given these tools. So it's like I'm the one breaking the cycles here
Yeah.
of change and I'm bringing change to the forefront.
Do you think that what you learned and what you kind of took away, even though it was not necessarily taught to you directly from your parents, that how you're going to bring this to your daughter is going to be through more explaining, more kind of educating, or just letting as the situations kind of arise, then talking through it with her and knowing that she has somebody there. If do you think there'll be a time when she doesn't want to be a part of this conversation or
Well,
this?
who knows about that part, but I think it's a combination of everything you mentioned. And it's kind of like you're just along for the ride. The
Yeah.
other thing that I don't want to do is I don't want to be like a demanding, overbearing parent because you lose trust that way. And once you lose the trust, it's hard to gain back. And then especially as they grow and hormones do cycle through their bodies, they're more apt to not want to listen and to shut the door on you. So figuratively and and literally. So I just want to her to know that I'm a safe space. You know, we already talk like we're best friends. We say this to each other all the time, and we are best friends. Um, but it's just important for children to know that you can come to them with anything and that you're a safe haven and you're not gonna get mad about something. It's not anything like that. It's just that you want to have a conversation to help them because if they don't know, then there might be better ways to do things or they can get into some kind of danger if they don't. So, um, I don't want to be a controlling parent, I don't want to I really love the little wildflower daughter that I have. So we're already on a good trajectory with that.
Excellent. Let's jump into track 4.
Sure.
We're going to get heavy now. Metallica, Seek and Destroy. So this is, I think, one of their first albums.
Uh, I don't know. I think um Ride the Lightning came before this. I'm
This is
not
from
sure.
1983, so
Oh,
could
okay.
be.
Okay. Okay. I don't know if it was their first, but it was one of the first. I started playing guitar when I was 16, 15 or 16. And I'd lock myself in my room every day after school. I think before school. If I got ready early enough, I just any minute I could pick up my guitar and play, I was just all about it every day, as many hours as I could lock in as possible. I mean, kids now they go to bed to an iPad or a laptop or a screen, and me, it was my guitar. Like I practically slept with it. So, I think I even had my guitar stand like next to my bed so I could just put it down and go to sleep. But this song um, was self-taught. And so I pride myself in that because Metallica is not very easy
Mm-mm.
to learn. And I didn't necessarily play it all the way through. I don't think I played the solos. I probably air guitared those. But I went far enough with it to like play along the majority of the song. And it was just back in the day when you had a cassette player and you'd press play and you would listen and then you'd press stop and then you'd try to figure it out and practice and then you'd rewind and then play and then so it was like a whole process of trying to do this where music is so different these days with streaming, but I guess there's still rewind and forward. Anyway, when you're trying to learn a song by ear and not by notes, reading music or tablature, it's quite an experience. And I kind of gifted it to myself because this was all I knew. And I was so interested in figuring it out. I don't even know if I was necessarily on the right scale on the fretboard in some instances of any song that I was playing, but I kind of just figured it out. And so this song reminds me of my youth and with fondness and where I just locked myself in my room as much as I could. And it was like my own world, my own bubble. It was such a time. It was so fun. Like really one of the most fun times, just being by myself doing this. And then I probably played a little bit for family or a friend, but really this time was for me. It wasn't
Hmm.
about like proving myself or look, let me show you this or show you that. It was just my time. It
I
was
think
really cool.
taking the guitar and trying to learn it by ear is really difficult.
It wasn't easy, but it was fun.
And especially not Mary Had a Little Lamb or something, like taking something like Metallica is
I
even
know.
more challenging. But I mean, that's how so many great guitarists started, just going in their room and, just banging on it. I mean, so you taking that time after school and locking yourself in the room is, I think I was making playlists on my cassette, recording from the albums to cassette and making playlists more so and stuff than playing the guitar, which I did have a guitar but just didn't have that sort of commitment like it sounds like you did.
But my commitment came from my passion. Like for
Yeah.
me, it was such joy. It was pure electric joy. I was in heaven doing this. Like it's one of those things like you could equate it to, a kid can't wait till he gets home to go play a video game to get to the
Yeah.
next level. Like that excitement. I mean, you could equate it to a lot of things, but this that's what it was for me. That was the feeling behind it. And unfortunately, I never stood by the guitar too many years after that. I mean, it was only into my and I think I took it through my 20s and then in my 30s I was just in the corporate world. So I mean, sometimes I was working 12 to 14-hour days,
Yeah.
at one point 70 hours a week between two jobs. And then the guitar just kind of was in the background, and it definitely was not next to my bed anymore.
Did
Sadly.
you did you have another instrument you started on? Like did you have any training on music?
No, for me it was always singing and guitar,
Yeah.
and both at the same time if I could. But that was again, that was like all self-taught. Often I had a couple of guitar lessons with this guy, Ted Labash from the Guitar Center. He was a rough and tumble, really cool guy, excellent, amazing guitar player. I had a few lessons. He taught me, he brought me a tablature book. So he actually prolonged my experience because now I actually had a legitimate book to look
Hmm.
into. And then I started to write all the songs that I knew how to play, even if it was just a ditty of it. And so that's something fun I should look into and see. But the list grew longer and longer and longer of even if I could just play a little piece of it, that was good enough for me. And I considered it, okay, I could play a lick of it or whatever. Um, and yeah, it was just for fun. I didn't have this thing where mom get me a manager, it was just like, it was like
Now,
we're going
now,
fit.
where was Mr. Morrison at this time while you were learning to play the guitar locked in your room?
Um, I think, somehow we made time for each other too, because we did see
Okay.
each other quite a bit. But I'll tell you, I think it was a toss-up between me and my guitar and me and this guy. So,
It's like not tonight.
yeah.
I'm
Oh yeah,
jamming.
I'm busy. I'm learning the second half of Seek and Destroy.
Yeah. Let's jump into track 5. This is Pearl Jam and Release.
Pearl Jam, you know, this song kind of held some space for me to like revere an emotion and just sit with it. I mean, it really is like the song is called Release. Anytime I heard it, it just like immediately catapulted me into this space of being in a moment and just processing whatever I was going through at that time. I cried many times to this song. And this song, apparently is about Eddie Vedder's loss of
His
touch
father.
with his father
Yeah.
that for years I thought it was about him losing his father to death, but really what I came to learn is it's about his unfortunate not being connected with his father in his life much at
Like
all.
absentee father.
Correct, exactly. So
Yeah.
it was about the sadness behind that, you know. So in that sense, a loss, also a loss. Um, so I kind of ran with the death theory for many years listening to it. I was totally wrong about that, but not that wrong because it kind of maybe does feel like the death of someone that you don't get to really experience and learn from, especially when it's a parental figure. But I didn't really equate this song so much to my father, a little bit, but I really just equated it more to the general feeling of it and just the emotion that it evoked,
Yeah.
which was, it's such a great song.
This is maybe the second or third time we've had Pearl Jam on there, not this song in particular. And it's really funny because I remember as bands like Nirvana and Pearl Jam were getting that whole kind of grunge scene, and they were getting really popular. And I remember just kind of leaning away from it and not being too into it. Um, and I don't know where I was going and what music I was kind of like leaning towards. But it's taken me a while to kind of come back to this kind of music now when where there's not this hysteria around it and everything, and the grunge thing kind of has faded out.
Yeah.
And really just appreciate the songs for what they are, good songs. And I remember seeing a clip on YouTube with Eddie Vedder, and he was doing a song from it's an Ian McKay. I'm trying to remember who his other band after he was an old punk singer from Minor Threat, and then he had this other band uh, what's it called? Elbow or I don't remember the name. But anyway, he was doing this on stage, one of their songs, which is like a rendition of this song, and I was like, wow. And just that connection of something, because I really like that song. And so hearing him just do that, and I've seen him do a couple of other covers, and it kind of took away whatever I thought grunge was, and gave me this chance to really appreciate these artists and the music for what it is and not have to be a part of a scene or something. So I've heard some of the songs off this album again. I don't remember release that much, but when I played it again, I know I've heard it before.
Yeah.
And so I played it when on your list, and it's a very tough, it's a hard song. I mean, like just it's got a lot of touching moments in there, what he's saying,
It,
his
it is. It's
lyrics.
an emotional tribute, kind of, you know.
Yeah.
The whole album is brilliant. The whole album is really good. But I just loved Pearl Jam, and unfortunately, I missed so many times to see them live. Another band I didn't get to see live. But yeah, just good listening. And I loved the grunge scene. When that came about, I was all about it. I was listening to all of it. Nirvana,
Yeah.
Soundgarden, Mother Love Bone. And then I don't know if you knew the movie Singles,
Yeah.
the soundtrack, brilliant soundtrack. And this is why it was very hard for me to pick 10 tracks, okay, Sean?
I know.
Because but we'll get into another song that we can talk about singles too. Kind of
Yeah.
similar.
It was funny because one guest had on Nirvana, and I had said, how much I really like Nirvana now, and my nephew's a huge Nirvana fan. But I was saying that for me, where I made the connection with Nirvana was the Pixies, and I was a
Mm,
big Pixies fan. I saw them when live in New Orleans when, like, it's like right before their first or after the first album, and they were a big influence on Kurt Cobain and some of that grunge scene in Seattle in particular. So
yeah.
that kind of was interesting because I was a big fan of that. And yet it took me a while to then embrace that, even though I can look back now and say it was a block that I put myself forward. I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
still
you
in
know,
therapy over it, but it's like we're getting there. I promise we're getting there.
we
We're
do
making
that to
progress.
ourselves. We create a thought like I don't like this or I'm not sure about it, and then we block off an entire thing, and then we maybe miss out on something. But your missing out could be different than my missing out, could be different than that. It doesn't really necessarily mean missing out. It just means that we literally just didn't go there. We didn't allow
Yeah.
ourselves. I mean, I have a lot of friends that listen to certain things that I didn't listen to. We didn't always all listen to the same stuff all the time. And they have certain memories that they can pinpoint and they're attached to music with from their youth that I can't say the same. Like Backstreet Boys and that kind of poppy stuff, I don't gel with. That's not my vibe. That was never my era. That wasn't me. I was more grunge, metal, hard rock, classic rock, folk, and then yeah, the classics and stuff. But I just never got into that. In sync, that wasn't my jam.
No.
I,
And I didn't I wasn't that wasn't the other fish that I was frying. It was not in
oh,
sync
and
or
I
anything
wasn't
like
saying,
that.
I didn't
No,
mean
no,
to
no, I
take it there. But I'm saying I
know.
understand. Like you just make a note in your mind, a little bookmark in your head, like, whatever, and then you turn your head somewhere else, right?
I was really into choreographed bands on stage dancing and no. No, but but looking back, because I think there's a lot of these bands that, I didn't suppress them. I didn't give them enough time, whereas maybe I was going to other artists and stuff. And then in the early 90s, I moved to the UK and I was in London. And so a lot of English bands were available, although, I mean, Nirvana was huge everywhere on the planet. And every time they'd play in the UK or at festivals, they were like the biggest thing on earth. I think Pro Jam were also massive there. But it was more so that I was trying to find other artists like the Pixies, and that sort of the ones that are kind of who else are they going to influence or who, were influenced by The Cure or something like that. So I was kind of looking for those more smaller ones and to see in smaller venues. In New Orleans, there was a lot of great bands that I got to see in smaller venues at the time because they were not that big, but probably not American artists who, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been able to see Pearl Jam or Nirvana in a tiny club in New Orleans. It would, they would have been playing huge venues by then once they blew up.
I went through the same thing when I lived in Oregon with Matis Yao, who nobody knew who he was back then. But when he was on stage, I would look at him and I go, he is like, he has presence. He is talented, and it's like if he isn't on big stages, then I don't know what. And now he is. I mean, he has been for years. So it's kind of interesting, we get to see these people and some of them stay small, but there's something magical when you can just feel it right away. Like this person has something, like this is talent.
Yeah. And I've shared this on the podcast before, but one of the bands that was in it was in a theater. So it was maybe, I don't know, 4,000 seat kind of venue, which is where you would see a lot of plays or stuff like that. It wasn't necessarily a big concert venue and it wasn't a tiny dive, but I went there to see a band, The Cult, who you
Hmm.
might know.
Yes.
And the band who opened up for was Guns N' Roses, which were not big at the time, and we were like,
Wow.
"All right, get off you leather trouser guys, put on Guns and the Cult." But then right after that, everyone they blew up and they were huge, and it was just like they were. I think that tour for them was opening, and then they were massive after that. And then I listen
Massive.
to them now. I'm like, their songs are so great. I can listen to it. At the time, I didn't know who they were, and I just saw them up there. And then like a week later, everybody, or 3 days later, people like that was, Guns N' Roses. They are so great. This is their album, and they were playing them
Yep.
everywhere. And I think they were on TV and whatnot. Um, and then now I can sit and think about those songs at the time and think of what a great thing it was.
Yeah, it's really fun to see. I had another experience, same kind of thing. I saw Dave Matthews.
Mm.
He opened up for the Grateful Dead in 1995 in I forget what the name of the amphitheater is, but it's an outdoor thing in Las Vegas.
Okay. Yeah.
In 95, Dave Matthews was just a band that opened for the Dead, but he wasn't just a band. He was magical. His whole band, I was like, what is this? This is so good. And
Yeah.
lo and behold, not that much later, him and his band became something phenomenal. And they became really big. And then when I got to look back on it, and I'm like, wow, I got to see Dave Matthews when he was, and still it was in front of a lot of people because it was a Dead show.
Right.
The Dead didn't play small shows
No.
in 95, but that was pretty cool. So it is fun to see people before they have their big opening into the world.
Yeah, I mean, even in Guns N' Roses was like hanging out in the crowd afterwards. So they
Yeah,
just kind of went wandering around, just like watching the show from the audience and stuff and whatnot. So they were,
an Appetite for Destruction happened in the 90s, and that was a big deal.
that
I
was
remember,
it. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I still have the cassette tape somewhere.
Let's jump to track 6. Now we're going to stay in your grunge moment.
Yeah, yeah.
This is Alice in Chains' Wood.
Yeah, so Wood, I mean, it has you from the get-go. Like the first couple of bass notes in there, you're just like hooked in. And then Lane Staley's voice is like chef's kiss. Amazing. Um, and man, what was I sad when he left the earth, because he's just there's nobody like him. I mean, I actually have been to I saw Alice in Chains sometime after he passed, and Jerry Cantrell sang his parts and did it justice, I have to say, but still. Anyway, this song is epic. It's so reminiscent of the grunge time and that whole scene. It just really brings back that whole feeling and that whole vibe of the 90s, which was just such amazing music. So much talent came out of that time. I could have picked so many songs, but this is still one of my favorites to this day. One of those that comes on and I still have to sing and belt out. But what's interesting, I later found out about this song. So the song title Would, like would you, could you? The song is actually a tribute to the prior or the now past lead singer of Mother Love Bone, and his last name is Wood,
So it's a play
W-O,
on wood.
play on words. It's like a double entendre. So it's very cool that, I mean, they all knew each other back then, and
Yeah.
it was a drug overdose, and that was happening. That was prevalent. And I don't even know the timeline with Nirvana and all that, but I mean, all that was going on, all these young deaths. But another talented person was gone, and he was the lead of the band, the lead singer.
Yeah.
And then Lane Staley went on to die too. So um, they
But
just
then there's
left.
also what's the other he died recently a few years ago, but I thought that was also suicide from Soundgarden.
Oh, right. Well, they also say suicided too.
Okay.
He was yeah, but yeah, I mean that whole world was really just such a vibe. So again, I could have picked any song. I mean, I could have even picked Crown of Thorns from Mother Love Bone as another really
Hmm.
great song, which is from the singles soundtrack.
Was Alice in Chains on the soundtrack too?
No,
They
no,
weren't.
they aren't. Pearl Jam has a song, I think State of Love and Trust, which is a great song. Not my favorite, but it's a great song. But that whole soundtrack from
Yeah.
singles, excellent.
Another band that was pre-grunge, I would say, was Bob Mould and Husker Du, and I forget his other band, Bob Mould, because he's done a few different variations of himself. But
Oh,
he's the lead singer of that. I think he was also another big influence on some of those bands. The Meat Puppets, I know Nirvana's covered quite a few Meat Puppet songs on their live on MTV thing,
I
but
haven't
that was
heard
also,
that part in a long time.
yeah.
That's, yeah.
So some of those bands I was kind of into a little bit, the early on phase.
Yeah.
So, and then I just shunned the other. But like I said, I'm getting through it.
Yeah.
The these memories for you at this time, where so this is kind of also as you're still dealing with teenage life and growing up and kind of figuring out what, you know, next phases for what you're doing, whether work, school, etc. Um, and so this was also kind of like your soundtrack as you
Yeah.
were dealing with that.
It's self-identity, and it wasn't even like a crisis yet. It was just, I think that comes later in your 40s or 50s, but it's more of well, I guess it could come anytime in someone's life, but um you are just trying to like pave the road for yourself because you're trying to see who you are without your family, who you
Yeah.
are without the people that raised you, who you are making money in the world. Like, what does this even look like? Like, where am I going to live? By myself or with other people? What kind of job am I going to have? You're just trying to like, you're trying on the world for size and you're just trying to figure everything out. And at the same time, um, navigate through your emotions. So it's not only like the external world you're actually trying to figure out, like, am I going to get a car? How am I going to have transportation to this job? Do I take the bus? How do I get around? Or where am I going to live? It's like, how do I feel through this? And at that time in the 90s and in the 2000s, it wasn't really a thing where people discussed mental health or emotional well-being. People just didn't really talk about it that much. We had music and we had each other, like you said earlier, which is was true for me too. I just had my friends. We would talk about things, but I don't think we spoke about things in depth like people would today. I
Yeah.
think it's more widely accepted, and I love that for us. Yay, world, that we're allowed and able and capable, or bringing, the capability up to the surface because we've always been capable to speak for ourselves, but we were never allowed the platform to do so. So to find your people or find some kind of safe haven to, talk about what's going on in your life and learn how to rewire patterns that weren't yours to begin with. And now you're going to take out into the world with you. It's like you have to unlearn a little bit so that you can circle back to who you really are.
Yeah.
And music helps. Music helps a lot.
I'm curious if there's any tools from the past that would still work today. And besides music, because I think music as a tool could definitely still whatever kind of music or, but I'm wondering, are there any, not saying that our parents of certain generation were like, just go and play in traffic or, just kind of get out of the, when you could, and you didn't have to worry about getting,
Yeah.
kidnapped or whatever. Um, but, is there anything from before that should or could, for kids today or younger,
Yes.
people as they're kind of trying to figure things out that could still work or help them?
I think, as simple as this is going to sound, I think it's just communication. I
Yeah.
mean, that's been through and through. I mean, maybe not as far back as the caveman, but, or I mean, even then, they probably had a certain type of communication that maybe we wouldn't understand today. But communication is it. and we didn't open the pathway to that very much. It was very limiting, it felt like, at least in my personal experience of my youth. But now, but I can't speak for all parents and all families because everybody has their own experience. And I'm sure other people would say, well, that's not my experience. My parents, we talked about everything. I just
Yeah.
don't hear that as commonly as I do now, where parents are more apt to allow for, just like I've been saying, just a safe space to have conversation.
Do you think social media would have helped things in our like in earlier time or made it worse or made it just as it is? If you know, because for some person who feels is like really out there and doesn't really feel connected, and then they go on social media and they see somebody in some other part of the world or some other state or city that almost looks or acts like them or feels, maybe expresses that they are different and they can make a connection like that.
Yes and no. Because when you think about it, remember we used to have pen pals?
Yes.
Remember that concept?
In concept, for sure.
I mean, not saying that you did that, but the idea to like mail people, to take pen to paper and write, and we've lost the art of writing because we're typing now. And so we're losing our memory and we're losing brain cells because we're not allowing ourselves to formulate. There is something to be said. There's a science behind actually taking pen to paper and writing, and then it commits to memory better than typing. There's just a science to it. And I believe that because I know it to be true. When I write things down, when I write notes, I know, but I digress. The point of this is that when we take away our natural sensibilities of like if we didn't have screens and we didn't, we just had to be on bikes and riding around the neighborhoods and physical interactions with one another,
Or
um,
books.
or books, yes, then we're creating a world of imaginary play. We're not behind video games, we're not um I mean on podcasts, that would kind of suck. But the world looks different. I To answer your question, I think that's a great question, and I would say it's a yes and no answer from my view. Yes, it would be great because then people that are maybe in small towns and aren't able to connect with others might find other people in the world, or you don't have to be in a small town, any town. But that way, just to have the connection with somebody, so whether they're physically with you or not, is a wonderful thing to have. On the flip side, seeing all these people that are shallow and,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
this is the beauty and this is the thing and here's my fashion and here's my stuff and let's spend money and I'm talking about the not bringing depth to things. That's out there and that's a distraction and people get caught up in that and then that's a whole issue. Um, it's really just about being true to who you are, and a lot of people have a problem with that because of the external um, distractions. So it depends. It's like you have to be calculated how you go about it. And a lot of people aren't. They don't know how. They're just scrolling and stop and scrolling and stop and then just look at everything. And
Yeah.
then your brain can't compute all that. It's too much. So
It
it's
also it makes you not are able to sit with a feeling or a thought because you want some sort of instant quick fix. So I can compare like reading a book or even watching a film, you know, a full on, people still watch films, but I feel like it's less um they're constantly multitasking or doing stuff sometimes. Not if you're in the cinema. I mean, hopefully you're not sitting on your screen while you're watching a film. But I
yeah.
feel like it's less, I think their mind attention spans are so limited these days.
Yeah, and that's true too. There's a lot of positives and negatives to it, and I think it's just really how you personally decide to use it.
Yeah. I'm curious if you mentioned something I thought was really interesting about writing. And have you looked at your handwriting today or yesterday compared to something you wrote 10 years ago, or that if you
Yeah.
have an old journal or some kind of like, just something with your a letter. Remember those?
Yeah. Yeah. I have a couple notebooks, more than maybe like three, of poetry, because I'm a writer and I used to write a lot, and I still write a lot. Actually, I don't know why I said I used to. I write all the time. I write every day almost, but poetry specifically. And my writing was bigger and sometimes sideways, and now I don't know even how to describe my writing now. It's just different. And maybe it's more condensed.
Yeah. Did you always write in script or cursive?
Yeah, pretty much in script. Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
still today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless I'm writing some specific things, I will write in like capital letters and just non-script, but yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was just curious. I'm not.
Yeah, usually cursive. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Because I think definitely after typing or working sometimes when I go back to, because I do still have lots of notebooks and I keep, lots of writing with pencils or pens, but I sometimes feel like my writing can be atrocious. It's like
Chicken scratch.
yeah, and it
Maybe you
tends
were
to
a
be
doctor in your former life.
not a good one. But yeah, so it tends to be a lot of scribble. Sometimes I mean I can gauge most of it and sometimes we have like if I'm doing something journaling and I have to read back, it can be
Hard.
difficult sometimes. I'm like, what the hell was um
Then
let's
maybe you
jump
just have to write bigger.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's jump to track 7. This is the Jimmy Chamberlin complex with Loki Cat.
Did you listen to this?
Yes. And I was like, I know the voice, and I'm like, well, who the hell is this? And then I realized, but I'm let you tell it, and then I'll comment.
So Jimmy Chamberlin, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name right now. Smashing Pumpkins.
The
What's his
drummer,
name?
he's the drummer of Smashing
No,
Pumpkins.
but the singer.
Billy Corgan.
Yeah, thank you. So Jimmy Chamberlin Complex is the drummer is Jimmy Chamberlin. The singer of this, I don't even know if they had an album or this was just a song. I don't even really know. I
I
just
think that
somehow,
yeah, they had an album, and it was a
that what it was?
yeah,
I stumbled upon this song. So I don't really know. All I know is this song, the on drums is Jimmy Chamberlin. Singer is Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins. The song Loki Cat, I got a laugh at because Loki, Loki, that was my prior cat's name, which Loki is the god of mischief and war
yeah,
or
yeah,
fire. Mischief and fire or mischief and
Fire, I
war?
think.
Fire.
Logie.
Yeah. And anyway, so this song is like an experience. The lyrics are great, the music is great. Jimmy Chamberlin is a amazing drummer. I don't even know who he is. I only know this song. Um, Billy Corgan has one of those voices you just know it's him.
Yeah, yeah.
He's not like the best singer in the world, but he's just, it's him. Um, but what I came to find out about this song was Jimmy Chamberlin had a cat named Loki who died. And so that's what this song, it's a tribute to his cat Loki. But I love this song because it's about loss and the duality of life and death, and it's very like spiritual, and it just has a lot of depth to it. And it's like one of those things. It's like with Edie Brickell, how she took a turn into something more spiritual and more ethereal, and this for me is that with Billy Corgan. He like took a turn and he went into something. Not that his other music isn't spiritual, and some of them are, some of the songs. But this is even more that. It's deeper into it. And it's just really well done. I love this song. I
Hmm.
really, really love this song so much. It's it's a really beautiful, it's beautifully done.
Yeah. It
But
was
from the
very interesting because I didn't know and I didn't put two and two together. I probably only know the guitarist from Smashing Pumpkins besides Billy Corgan, who
yeah,
I heard his one of his first solo albums, James Aha, Iha.
yeah.
I'm not sure how to say it, but I remember hearing one of his in the 90s, and it was a great like solo stuff. I really liked it. So I never really knew the rest of the band too deeply.
Me
Um,
neither.
but this song was really, because I was like, wait a minute, I know his voice, and I kept thinking, but then I was reading in the like on my phone, it didn't say Billy Corgan anywhere, and I'm like, I don't know, there's somewhere he's here. I know he is, and
Yeah,
it just sounded, or somebody was like so much like him. And then
yeah.
when it said Smashing Pumpkins, I was like, okay, he's got to be here somewhere because. And then I found it that he did sing on this. I don't think he sang on the whole album or this project
Okay.
that they were doing, but he definitely sang on this track.
I'll have to check out the album or the project this was because I really like Jimmy Chamberlin's drumming is great. There's just it's a really cool like when the intro to the song, there's no drums and it's just the music and then there's just one and then it just brings you in and his drumming is so great.
Yeah.
But I love the lyrics and I just love the whole piece is great.
I'm thinking of the Smashing Pumpkin song. That's one of my favorites. What's the one tonight
Mhm.
or something. And the drums on that are incredible. It's just that
Yeah.
kind of, it's just power. And he
Yeah.
kind of keeps his whole rhythm going.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that, his doing his own stuff and everything. It makes sense. So I didn't realize, that he had this sort of project. So it's good you
I
did.
didn't know either. I don't even know how I stumbled into this, but I did, and I'm glad I did because I've known this song now. I want to say for several years. I don't know when this came out, but it's a beautiful song. I
This
was
is
lucky.
2005.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's been around for a while. I was lucky to see, I'd never seen Smashing Pumpkins before. They're not one of my favorite bands. I always liked them, but they weren't like a favorite. But I saw them with Jane's Addiction, who
Hmm.
Jane's Addiction was one of my favorite bands from the 90s, along with my whole grunge vibe thing. As soon as I heard them, I was all in and I just followed along with all their albums. So, you
They're an
know,
LA band too.
yeah, and I had the pleasure of seeing them a few times, a handful of times, but the last time I saw them um, was a couple years ago with the Smashing Pumpkins at the Hollywood Bowl, and that was a
Yeah.
really great show. That was
Oh
pretty cool.
wow, that sounds
Before
like it would have
Jane's
been great.
Addiction had their whole ego blowout. So I don't know if they're a band
When they were
anymore.
punching each other on stage or something like that.
30 years, just all, it came to a head and it was all blows from there. So,
Yeah. I saw them in New Orleans, must have been the first album. So they would have been super early. And it was
wow.
at this small venue that has, a lot of blues and other interesting artists at the right time to see him. Um,
Yeah.
and so that was before the second album, which had like been caught stealing. So it was really early stuff. And I forget who opened up for them, or they opened up for Love and Rockets, maybe. Maybe
Oh,
that's how I saw the.
pockets.
Um, so they were incredible. And again, it was that same kind of people just like they gravitated to them and they blew up.
Right. Yeah.
So yes, there's a lot of musical circles I think we're finding
Yeah.
around here.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting because if you were at the same time with a lot of this music, if you were in LA, I think a lot of New Orleans kind of had similar waves. So the LA wave would have had the New Orleans wave when it came to a
Yeah.
lot of
They came around.
heavier music and stuff like that. And I tend to
Yeah.
feel Like maybe the New York vibe was going somewhere different, but for sure, New Orleans definitely kind of it was a similar,
It
you know.
was kind of cyclical in that way. I remember seeing in a small bar, trombone shorty. So do you know who that is?
No,
Um,
but I'm sure
Dang,
he's
it sounds like a New
he's one
Orleans
of
guy,
mine.
doesn't it? Yeah, but he was from New Orleans, and he would come around and play at this small bar that I went to back in the day. And I don't think I'd been to New Orleans yet, but I loved the vibe, and I was like, oh, I gotta get myself to Jazz Fest one of these days.
Yeah. Well, I didn't purposely do this, but we're segueing interestingly with this next track 8, which is Mute Math, You Are Mine.
Yeah.
The guy behind this is called Paul Meany,
Hmm.
who's from New Orleans.
Hmm. Well done.
I didn't purposely do that, but that's where we are.
Yeah, so I hadn't heard of the band Mute Math until I met my husband, and he was just all about this band. And my husband's a musician, so that would make sense. And he also has great taste in music. So um, there's a song called Chaos, which is a great song. And that was the first song that I had heard of that theirs at all. But then on the same album, there's a song You Are Mine.
Hmm.
And this song kind of became the anthem to my husband's and my relationship, and then later marriage. And then I walked down the aisle to this song on our
You
wedding day.
did?
I
Oh,
did.
wow.
And another cool thing was we got married 10 years ago, and about 2 weeks after our wedding, we went to a Mute Math show. They played in LA, and it was a small venue. And we somehow got lucky because we don't know them personally, but we got lucky and we got to the side of the stage. And I mean, I am just several feet away from the stage and from them because the stage
Mm.
was small too.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we were just right there. And I was just high off. I was writing high vibes for my wedding. So I was just in a really happy zone, just freshly married in a really happy time of my life. And then I got to see my favorite band play live. And then it just was like another full circle moment for me, just like a really celebratory time,
Did they
connecting.
play this song?
I don't know. I can't remember. It's only 10 years ago. I can't remember. Um, all I know is that I knew every song they played, and I loved their whole show was amazing. Because they're excellent musicians. I mean, they're
Hmm.
like true artists. There's some bands that just make great songs, and there's some bands that they just do it so it's like they give it that extra sauce because they're so talented. So then they have great songs paired with their musicianship, and that's just like that's where the magic is.
Yeah, I really liked it. I wasn't familiar with them, and I mean, I haven't lived in New Orleans for a long time, but I wasn't that aware of them. So it was interesting to hear. But I really liked the song you picked, and like it's again a band that I want to check out more to really dig into some of the other songs. And it did.
Yeah.
I think when I was reading something about him, Paul Meany, that he was working on other artist stuff. He was,
He
playing
broke
and
away from they broke up. The band broke up. So unfortunately, because I would still go see a show. They're one of those bands like, people go see the Grateful Dead 50 times. It's like Mute
Mhm.
Math is one of those bands like I would see again and again because they're just that good. Their performance, like they're just true musicians. I would see them play the same stuff over and over, like the same album. That's just how good they are to me. But they broke up, and so now we're left with what they left behind for us until or unless one of them, comes out with some new stuff with other people or solo. I think some solo stuff was gonna happen. I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah. So that was a special song for me. And I think it's their first album. off of
Yeah.
their first. Yeah.
So, especially with life, you said you married around 10 years ago. Is this kind of when things started to feel like all the pieces were fitting together for you, or were you kind of already, how long were you in your before you and your husband were married like together?
We've been together almost 17 years, like in a
Mhm.
week or something. It'll be like 17 years that since we like made it official that we were going to be together, married 10. So yeah, I mean it's been almost 20 years. So we've gone through a lot of life together. And our child is only 6.5, so we had a lot of life before her.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I think I did a lot with with him before where we just had a lot of self-growth and individually and together, but definitely meeting him was amazing because we were bringing out the best in each other. We were already kind of at strong places in our lives when we met, which
Hmm.
you never know how things are going to go when you meet someone. Somebody could be grieving, or somebody could just not be in a great place, or maybe not mature yet. But we both had a pretty strong foundation. We both knew who we were. There were a million times we could have met because we ran in similar circles. We were literally like rivaling high schools. Um, our high schools were like, not very far from each other, and we had the same friends. He toured with my friends from my high school. Uh, it's just funny and ironic how we didn't meet, but I think that was on purpose. I think that divine intervention didn't happen and wasn't meant to happen until later. Um, and then not only did he bring me himself, but he brought me this amazing music that he plays as a musician, but also he turned me on to so many bands that I never heard of or maybe didn't listen to very much. So
Hmm.
that was kind of cool. I think that's been like a thing with me is people, bringing me music, which is so lovely of all of us to do for each other. I think that's almost like a sense of love. It's like a gift to share music with people. Like this is one of my favorite songs. Here, listen. And now we can
Yeah.
just tell somebody a song. So that's kind of like a very kind thing to do.
One of the, with my sisters is making playlists, and I have a couple of friends and my nephew. I made a sort of shared playlist with them as well, so that we can just pick some of our songs and then put it. We have a friend that passed quite a while ago, but some of our friends got together and we made songs about, this friend that we can keep just as a kind of memory. So I think there's lots of ways that people, that today music is such a beautiful connector to so
Yeah,
much. Not just
absolutely.
trying to plug because this podcast is about music, but
No, but it's very true. It's very true.
we get to track 9. Uh, this is Radiohead with off their first album, Creep.
Yeah. Which, it's funny. I wouldn't have picked this song had it not been for a recent experience that I had that brought this song to more light. Um, this song, I mean, if you like Radiohead, you like this song. This was a very mainstream commercialized song. Everybody heard it. I don't know anybody that doesn't know what this song is or and it's fun to sing, but what highlighted this song for me was there's this nonprofit group that is going around the country. It started in New York. I believe that's where it originated. And then now they've brought it to a few different major cities, LA being one of them. And my friend told me about how this group is having this, it's kind of like a sing-along, if you will, but it's a chorus and it's very professionally done. And there's a beautiful arrangement, of the song of their choice that they pick. And then if you want to come and join, then you do. And so I thought it would be so much fun. It's I went with a girlfriend that we love to sing and we love to sing together. Sometimes it's sweet and good, and sometimes it's just funny.
Hmm.
But she invited me and I jumped at the chance. And anyway, we went into this beautiful church somewhere in LA. I think it was downtown. And we had the best time following an arrangement. There were several different parts that were given. There were, the altos, the bass, the tenors, and then all of the higher range singers. And I fell somewhere in the middle. I forget which one I group I belonged to, but we'd have short little practices. We'd be taught our parts and when
Hmm.
to do them. And then we'd practice coming together as a group and seeing it all. And in the church with um, the high ceilings and how it sounded inside was so beautiful. And everyone coming together, not as professional singers necessarily. I could tell there were a few in there that were like belting it out.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
you could tell who the pros were, like la 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 la. But I just had so much fun. There were a couple people crying. There were a lot of people teary-eyed. I mean, and this song brings emotion for people because it's kind of like a judgmental song about people being a creep or being that person that doesn't fit in or doesn't belong. And so for some people, it has that type of meaning, and it attaches to like a self-identity
Yeah.
of the way they feel from the outside world treating them. And I hugged a young gentleman for a long time. I just held on to him, as did a couple other women, because he just seemed like he needed a hug, and we asked him because he was crying. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so it was a really cool thing where just, all races, all ages, like just not kids, it was all adults, but we all came together. There were like some elderly people there. There um,
Yeah.
all kinds of backgrounds, and it wasn't just men or just women. It was like men and women. It was so beautifully done. And then by the end of it, we sang full through, like two
Wow.
rounds, and then they recorded it, and then we got the footage and we got to see it, and it was so moving. And so that moment became a defining moment for me about not just necessarily with that song. It could have been so many different types of songs,
Hmm.
but partially that song, the meaning behind it, and then how music brings people together in a forum when it's like orchestrated in a certain way and so beautifully arranged, and the feeling in it is so lovely.
I've seen something similar. I don't know if it was in New York, but this was actually more orchestrated with artists were part of it, where it looked like they were in some type of church where there was in the crowd, and then there was like David Byrne or Patti Smith who were on stage and singing, and
Oh.
maybe it was one of their songs. But then I also saw, and I don't know if you've seen this, because I think a song similar to Creep you can do is Wish You Were Here, Pink Floyd.
Oh.
And I saw a version of people in a train station in Amsterdam, and one guy gets out his guitar and just starts strumming acoustic guitar to, the beginning, how it's got a pretty long intro for Wish You Were Here. And then as he starts singing, somebody else comes with an instrument, and I think somebody had brought a bass, and they playing this bass like a stand-up bass, and then some other people start singing with them, and then another guitarist is on there. And I think it's again where people just hear about, like we're going to do this, and then so many people were standing there filming, other people were humming along to this, but it turns it into such a thing for everybody to be a part of.
So sorry to do this. My dog has to go out.
Okay.
I'm taking you with me. Pardon me for a second. He's crying and crying, and it's gonna get really loud. Go ahead. Sorry. Sorry about that. We're back.
Yes. So it sounds beautiful what like having that experience and what doing. And I do I mean I think the song Creep, I don't know, like I heard somewhere that Radiohead doesn't want to play it anymore for whatever reasons, but I think the song has so much it was came out at a good time, for people
Yeah,
to
it did. And again, it's so fun to sing. That like
yeah.
long note and part of it, but and also the arrangement that I was able to perform with a lot of other people was so beautiful. I mean, honestly, I was obsessed with the arrangement. I just was playing it over and over, just listening to it. And then I presented it to my daughter and my husband, and they were obsessed with it. Well, not my husband as much, but my daughter. And she just wanted me to keep playing it again and again in the car on the way to school.
Yeah.
Um, and she doesn't know Creep or the meaning behind it or the lyrics. It was just the arrangement and all the harmonies were so cool. They're really well done. It was a fun experience. I would do it again if it was the right song. Because
Yeah.
it's got to be the right song.
There's a funny story with a friend of ours when there was a song, I don't know if you ever heard it, from an artist called Lily Allen,
Hmm.
and she had a song called Fuck You.
Hmm.
And I think that was from, I don't know, maybe it was around when George Bush the second was president
Okay.
or something. But anyway, so one of our friends, when we were living in the Netherlands, and the song was on the radio and all this stuff, and so her son, maybe he was about 9 or 8, and he was like, "What is she saying?" And she's like, she's singing at you, she's
Oh,
sneezing. Or thank you very
that's
much.
that's a good save. That's creative. That's what you have to do as a parent. You have to be very creative. Yeah, now
So, because
my
obviously they
daughter.
don't censor the music on the radio, so it was just curious ears hearing that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
We get to track 10. This is from the soundtrack to Wolfwalkers.
Yeah. So Wolf Walkers is the movie, and Running with the Wolves, the name of the song. And then this is arranged by a few different people. Aurora, I get confused if Aurora is a group or a singer.
Okay.
I don't really know the answer to that.
I think she's a singer.
Just her. Okay. Maybe it's just her alone. And then Bruno Coulet, if that's how you pronounce, and Keela, they arranged this song. Aurora is the singer on it, though. And so a couple years ago, my daughter and I found the movie with Wolfwalkers, and I think they won some kind of award. One of the big award shows gave them an award. I'm not sure if it was like the cinematography. So it's like cartoonish. It's, an illustrated in that way. And so we've watched it a bunch of times together, but the soundtrack is so beautiful.
Hmm.
And it takes place in, I think, Ireland.
Yep.
So it's like lush nature and but this song is when this song is like the peak of the movie when there's just freedom of these two girls that become kindred spirits. And so it's just kind of the feeling of like nature and wildlife, these wolves and the partnership of like a sisterhood between them, where one of the girls is like half wolf and half human.
Okay.
And the other girl becomes this as well, and then they become family. But in this scene, it's just about them like running through the woods, enjoying life, just being young girls, and it's really beautifully done. Um, and my daughter and I just love it. We've listened to this song hundreds of times and we sing it together. We still sing it. Like just even the other day, she put on the movie and we sing it in the car. She'll be like, "Mom, put on our song." And I know that's so this song for me is really a tribute to my daughter because it's just the the sweetness, you know, of um of her and in our relationship. And she's like a little nature girl, and it just the vibe and everything just really matches her spirit and who she is.
Oh wow, that's so beautiful. I think it's on Apple TV if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. I think
Yeah,
so. It's such a great movie. Like you don't have to have a kid to sit with to watch. It's a really good movie. I
yeah.
like the storyline behind it, but I'm also into, you know, like 16th, 17th century, like old kind of um timey stuff.
So this is Irish folklore, Celtic kind
Yeah.
of rhythms and chanting and all that sort
Yeah,
of.
the story is great in the movie, but the music is just really beautiful. And I don't know
Yeah.
if you've heard Aurora before. She has a popular song called, I can't remember if it's called Runaway.
Okay. Yeah. I actually she sounds
You've
familiar.
probably heard it.
I
I
think
feel
so.
like you probably heard it. Yeah. Like if you heard it, you would know. But anyway, she does have that one famous song, but this song is something else. It's just really, really really lovely. So, yeah.
That's a beautiful story behind that.
Yeah.
Samantha, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Sure. So, I have a website, rootswingswellness.com. I offer a free guide. It's 5 free, powerful tips about well-being, and there's actual things to do in there that I poured my heart out into. So I've actually done these steps myself, and it's not just like reading and absorbing information. There's some tools for you to do yourself in there, which I specifically wanted to offer. So it wasn't just a piece of literature.
Hmm.
And I'm also on Instagram mostly at Roots Wings Wellness.
Okay. And what's next for you?
Great question, because I have so many things on the list. I think I'll continue being a guest on some podcasts and life coaching. I think eventually will shift into different things. Maybe it won't be so one-on-one. Um, that's the one-on-one thing has been my experience for the past 10 years, but it might morph into other things. So we'll
Like
see.
retreats or something?
No, not retreats, and not even really in person, but maybe just like technology based, like things that people have access to that I put together, um, and that people can purchase, you know, more like tech products,
Hmm.
um, that are pieces of me, but people don't have as much access to me, that I will just formulate with specific topics in mind. Um, but I do intend to still do the one-on-one, just maybe dialed back. But really my first priority is my daughter and my family. So that's kind of, you know, where I'm going with this. And I want to be there as much as possible while she's still young. And then, you know, I have many years ahead of me when she's doing her own thing to kind of, you know, reshift my focus back into myself fully. So
Do you see a book in you?
that's funny you say that. I've always thought about it because I love to write. And I probably already, most definitely, not probably, have a book. If I took this and that and this and that and that and then put it together and I had some magical editor that could do it all and be like, well, let's see, that goes with this and just rework a puzzle and put it together.
Just give
Might
it to
take
him and
some
say, now
time.
do this.
Yeah. Here you go.
Yeah.
Yes, that's been a thought of mine for a very, very, very long time. But that would have to be a priority, and right now it's not. So I like to look at life in pieces, you know, where this is a priority, that's a priority, so that I can really put my all into it. I don't like to have my hands into too many things at once, because then you're not giving your all to everything, you know?
Right. Well, thank you so much for being my guest. I've really enjoyed and you're getting a new lease for me on some of these songs and these artists that I've kind of shied away from. But also just learning more about you and the music that you've chosen. And I wish the best for Roots, Wings, and Wellness. And as I say to everyone as I leave, to be kind, be humble, be love. And I wish that for you and your
Thank
family.
you. Thank you so much. And I do to you as well. It's been a real pleasure being on. I've loved this time with you. It's such an amazing experience to discuss music, such a beautiful thing. We're so lucky to have it, and for
Yeah.
you to bring this creation to allow others to have a platform to bring their memories and emotions and stories is a great way to encapsulate an episode because everybody has such a different perspective. So thanks for allowing me to share mine here today. Appreciate it very
Absolutely. Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.